Hi, everyone. A warm hello and welcome to everyone who's joined so far to this webinar. I'm really glad that all of you could join in and we can make time to connect today. So for the next 15 to 20 minutes, we will be asking and answering the question, will technology replace my job? And solutions to how humans and computers can work in harmony. And this is something that AutoLeadStar really does care about, so I'm super excited to be presenting this today. So as you can see on my screen, my name is Molly. I work on the business development team here at AutoLeadStar, debuting with my first webinar. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please just hold until the end and I'll be more than happy to answer. Alrighty, with that, let's jump right in. So to set the agenda here, I'd like to go over the general outline of what we will be covering. First, we will dive into the pressures that dealerships are currently feeling, as well as what they will be feeling in the near future. Secondly, we will give some real examples of tedious and inefficient ways in which dealerships might be spending their time. Thirdly, we will cover ways in which dealerships can use technology to their benefit and work as a team as opposed to becoming fearful competitors. And last but certainly not least, we will try and understand the value of these benefits and connect it to the bigger picture of automotive. Okay, first let's talk about the pressures that dealerships are feeling today, specifically kicking off with market pressures. So dealerships in the States will be experiencing a lot of pressure in the next couple months and years for many different reasons in the market. Automotive news confirms that price pressure, rising interest rates, and a shrinking supply of affordable vehicles have US dealers worrying more about business as they look toward 2019, which means fewer people will be willing or honestly just can't afford to pay these future inflated prices. And aside from regular sales needs in general, even dealers themselves point out that it's vital to have consumers make that change and invest in a new car for fuel efficiency and safety purposes. All right, now let's dive into the second dealership pressure, and this is going to be OEM pressure. So factories put a lot of pressure on dealerships. Many of these dealers feel limited in their ability to have any strategic decision making, or they're forced under the pressures of compliance. Over the past 5 years alone, incentive programs have proliferated, while new car gross profit margins have diminished. And according to NCM Associates, around 40% of car dealers are not profitable in their new car departments until they get factory spiffs, which means incentives or bonuses. And they can influence other dealers' behavior. So for example, if one dealer is discounting new car prices to hit a sales target, his competitors must follow, or they might lose sales. As we can see, dealerships have all these external financial pressures, which means it's now time to focus on what's going to be most efficient internally. And this means that the tools we provide of bringing efficiency to these dealerships' marketing and their ability to sell cars are the most critical tools and functions we could bring. Amongst all this upcoming pressure and competition, it will be essential that every dollar that a dealership spends needs to be capitalized on. Okay, now that we know what kind of pressures are on our plate, let's transition to see how we can actually combat these pressures. Here's where you may ask yourself, what will it look like to execute an efficient and effective marketing campaign? And what will this look like and what are the next steps I need to actually take as a dealership? These are the questions many dealership teams ask themselves. And because of that, I wanted to throw in a realistic example of what it will look like when a dealership would be asking these questions. Take, for example, Sam. Sam's on the marketing team. And what Sam currently does to reach customers is send out recurring email blasts. Sam goes into a CRM, pulls any specific car shoppers, say Ford Focus customers in the last 6 months. He'll then try and utilize the most segmented data the CRM can actually pull in order to prioritize and categorize his campaigns. And then he'll download this as a CSV and look for customers who he knows have already bought from them and exclude those people from the list so they aren't sending these irrelevant emails and instead now targeting the appropriate consumer. Okay, bear with me here. He then uploads this to an email validator, downloads it as a CSV, uploads to MailChimp, sets a campaign template, customizes per store, customizes links and the UTM codes, and then he makes sure they're pointing to all the right places. Sounds like fun, right? And to make matters worse, Sam will also pull custom lists for Ford Fiestas, Ford Explorers, Ford Escapes, and so on and so forth. So as I just explained, Sam and his coworkers are creating these lists with not only a couple of models per store, but they'll be doing this a few times a month for each store. And we do realize that not everyone goes through this process. We understand some of you are agencies and some not. So not everyone here has the capabilities to do this because the dealerships don't have infrastructure or CRM organizational protocols in place to allow you to do this. But the most savvy of us understand that you may do these tasks on a daily basis and that this kind of project can take a dealership over 10 hours a week, if not more, where they could and should really be devoting that kind of time towards much more valuable activities. I mean, I don't even get that many hours of sleep at night. But all that said, we can clearly see there's an unbelievable amount of time being spent simply pulling, segmenting, and creating these lists. We understand there are jobs essentially dedicated to doing repetitive work, making sure every UTM is correct, every customer is relevant, and every segment is clearly defined. And while this tedious work is extremely inefficient, unfortunately, there's another factor which comes into play that makes this process even more frustrating for the team. And that, my friends, is inadequacy. Firstly, these CRMs do not have the ability to pull as detailed lists as we'd like, with the amount of data that we'd like. Secondly, the CRM is not tracking what's going on the website, and instead, it only knows what you manually enter into it, meaning we're missing an abundance of data sets and ways to more specifically target people. It's also really important to note that once you download that CSV, it's going to be static, which leads me to my third point. Dealerships now can't react to something in real time. In between the time you download the CSV and segment it out, a lot can happen. If you want the list to stay dynamic and changing over time, then you have to continuously download it. So what issues do we need to solve? These are the questions we need to answer. The first clearly being massive amounts of this inefficiency and opportunity cost. And secondly, creating much more powerful targeting based on the data sets we are given. Artificial intelligence can only do so much, but we really have to take into consideration that in order for AI to do its job, a cultural shift has to happen where dealerships understand the full value of accurate data input. And their CRM has to be something that they're willing to put their time into. Once they conquer that task, then AI can come in and do these wonderful things with it. But if the data in the CRM isn't accurate, if there's no emails, there's no relevant data, then we can only do so much. Many people in the industry will look at these pain points and offer a simple solution. Computer automation and computer intelligence. Leave it to the computers, leave it to the software to come in and do my work for me. Which leads you to think, well, now my job's in danger because automation will replace me and fire my staff. But what if we take a different perspective on this and look at the bigger picture by asking ourselves how automation can positively impact our lives? Once we understand how the two work hand in hand, or AI and BI rather, we can apply the benefits to our everyday routines. We define this perspective as the direct symbiosis between humans and computers. Symbiosis meaning, and let's be honest, we haven't all been to a bio class for a while now, the interaction between two different organisms living in close physical association, typically to the advantage of both. And in our scenario, these are the places that computers thrive, and there are places where humans thrive. But in most cases, including Sam and his team, the humans are doing the tasks the computers are good at, which in turn hurts them because the humans now don't have the mental time or ability to think and market creatively, which is of course what they do best. So AI isn't necessarily going to take over, it's actually going to help us to work together and more efficiently. Okay, before we move on, it's important to specifically define the value once giving the computers these tasks. Of course, there's the obvious of the abilities to store vast amounts of information, streamline efforts, help sort, organize, and search through this information in seconds. But let's see exactly if and how the value of automation works. We like to say that data speaks at AutoLeadStar. And according to Nucleus Research, marketing automation drives a 14.5% increase in sales productivity and a 12.2% reduction in marketing overhead overall. And lucky for our dealers, research also shows that marketing automation is growing fastest within the CRM space. And Salesforce customers report an average 25% increase in marketing ROI after adopting the CRM. If you want your business to grow and grow quickly, automating the steps for your marketing and sales will allow your team to pay attention to valuable leads that matter and make sure they are capitalizing on ones that show promise. with more focus on more valuable leads and a better understanding of your consumer, your team is now subject to a more strategic and streamlined process, which will always almost bring you more success. Okay, let's break it down. Think about what you have now and what you could have with AI. With AI, you'd be able to segment beyond just what state or gender or zip code per shopper. With AI, you can do so much more nuanced segmentation and have more than one criteria, and actually create much more multifaceted audiences to engage. For example, people who went to your website and visited a VDP more than 5 times in the past 30 days but did not fill out a form. That right there, guys, immediately indicates a super in-market person, and you know what VDPs they've been on, even though they didn't fill out a form yet. Or maybe they filled out a form, but they never came in for the test drive. That right there, again, is crossing over 3 different systems. We're connecting the CRM because we know if they came in for a dealership visit, and the website data because we know their history, and the list that you bought them to get them to open an email blast that led them on to the VDP page. And once we have access to these dynamic lists that update in real time, we will know the exact flow of this customer's journey and how to target them accordingly, whether it be more personalized emails to maintain interest or targeted social media messages. And the beauty of it all is that computers can handle this task at scale. So your team will have more time to focus on leads that are ready to buy. Diving deeper, we also find ways for the business to improve its efficiencies in targeting. Sam and his coworkers simply don't have the capacity to keep up with the increasing demand to crunch all the data in these various lists. This doesn't mean that AI is coming to eliminate jobs for those involved in business intelligence. Yes, while AI can do the work that no one has time for, companies will come to see much stronger benefits in BI and be more inclined to further invest time and effort, creating more jobs in the field as a result, and confirming that AI is actually very good for job security. So for most companies, there is this imbalanced symbiosis of human and computer. But with the help of a balance between the two, everything becomes fluid. We can now respond to people in real time, focus on marketing creatively, and use the most sacred component of any great success story, our own imaginations. A computer can only take you so far, but if you let the computer crunch the hard work, then you can hone in and focus on things your team never had time to do in the first place. In other words, if you let a computer take care of the heavy data-based repetitive tasks, then humans can now focus on their own strengths and create the best work possible. These are the ideas that our team at AutoLeadStar keeps in mind every single day. And as a company that works with artificial intelligence, we're not here to take away anybody's jobs, but rather help you be more efficient so that we can provide you much, much more value. If I were to take away the most important points in this webinar, I really want you to remember to embrace big data and put the computers to work. Once we utilize marketing automation, we can then provide more efficient workers, create more dynamic lists, convert more ready shoppers, create more strategic campaigns, and save lots of time and energy with a more successful outcome. Thank you all very much. That concludes this webinar. I really appreciate you all listening in. I'll now be taking a couple questions from you guys. Let me look here. Okay, I see there's already a couple questions coming in the queue. The first one says, my agency is already using something similar like drip campaigns, so we don't need this. And since drip campaigns are automated, can't they just replace artificial intelligence, or are they the same thing? Okay, this is a great question. And I do understand why you would ask if drip campaigns could replace AI, since it's almost always automated. However, it's really important to note that drip campaigns are not the same thing as artificial intelligence. A drip campaign is essentially a series of emails that are just sent out on a schedule. And although they do run on automation, they aren't exactly these scalable solutions. And the value of automation and dynamic lists is that it is scalable and it works for you, and not vice versa. So for example, a drip campaign sends out emails every 7 days, but has no potential for targeting and segmenting like AI does. So the value and overall efficiency is lost. Thanks again for the question. It was a really good question. I do see another one here asking, what are ways that we can get on board with utilizing this automation? Wonderful. Thank you for this question. I'd like to say that in regards to this, our team does work really, really hard to give dealers a full stack platform of technology driven products and solutions. And from understanding visitor behavior and targeting relevant content, all the way to delivering lead intelligence, and now rolling out a platform to create this wonderful dynamic audience targeting. But I'm going to stop there. That's all the hints I will be dropping today in regards to our roadmap in the near future. Um, but I will point out that, as most of you already know, the automotive industry is a couple years behind other industries, such as e-commerce and retail. So it was really, really important for us to deliver this streamlined and technology-driven solution to consumers today. And that being said, we of course hope you will stay tuned as we do build out these products in the near future. Again, thank you for asking. I hope I answered your question. And if I wasn't able to get to your question, I will be sure to follow up with you through an email. Thank you all so much again for joining me today. I really, really appreciate your time, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And from all of us at AutoLeadStar, we hope to see you soon. Thank you.